A 70-year-old man named Ben becomes an assistant to his 30-year-old boss, but she does not like him at first. Still, Ben does not give up. He watches carefully and tries to help quietly.
Ben looked out of the window during his break. By chance, he saw his boss's driver secretly drinking from a paper bag. At that moment, his boss was getting ready to come downstairs and leave in the car. This was not Ben's responsibility. He knew he should not interfere. But Ben was a responsible man, and his years of experience told him something was wrong. So he walked calmly to the driver before the boss arrived.
"Look, I don't want to make you uncomfortable," Ben said kindly, "but I happened to look out the window and it looked like you were drinking." "I don't know what you mean," the driver answered quickly. Just then, the boss came downstairs. Ben looked at the driver seriously. "Why don't you tell her you can't drive today?" The driver hesitated. He wanted to keep working, but Ben's warning look was impossible to ignore. Finally, he sighed and spoke to the boss. "I'm not feeling very well today." "Oh," she said, "then you should take the day off and rest." So Ben became the temporary driver for the day. He drove carefully and safely through the busy city streets. When the boss came back to the car later, she found a warm bowl of Chinese chicken soup waiting for her on the seat. "Oh my God," she said with surprise. "That smells amazing." "Thank you. You really didn't have to do this." Ben simply smiled.
Most people in the company saw Ben as a quiet old man in a suit, but they did not know he was once the vice president of a large printing company. He understood people well and always knew the right thing to say. Ben did not take the intern job because he needed money. He took it because he wanted his life to feel meaningful again. Freud once said that love and work are the two most important things in life, but Ben was already retired, and his wife had passed away years ago. At first, retirement felt wonderful. Ben traveled around the world and used all his airline miles. In only 3 years, he visited many countries and saw many beautiful places. But every time he came home, he felt the same emptiness waiting for him. There was a hole in his life. So Ben tried to stay busy. Every morning at exactly 7:15, he went to Starbucks. He enjoyed sitting near young people and listening to their conversations, even when he did not fully understand their slang. He tried everything to fill his days: golf, movies, books, yoga, cooking, gardening, card games, and even learning foreign languages. Still, something was missing.
One day, while shopping for groceries, Ben noticed a flyer on a public board. A fashion startup company was looking for senior interns over the age of 65. Ben was already 70 years old. The company wanted experienced people who were interested in online business. Ben knew almost nothing about technology. He did not know how to upload a video resume or use social media properly. But something inside him became excited again. And just like that, Ben made a brave decision. He decided to become an intern at a fast-moving fashion company where most workers were younger than 30. Ben could barely use a smartphone, so he even called his 9-year-old grandson to ask what a USB connector was. Still, he was determined to learn. During his interview video, Ben spoke honestly. "I love the idea of having somewhere to go every day," he said. "I want excitement. I want connection. I want to feel needed again. I've worked for companies my whole life. I'm loyal, dependable, and calm in difficult situations." Then he smiled warmly. "I once read that musicians don't retire. They stop when there's no more music inside them. Well, I still have music in me." Those simple words touched the company deeply. Ben quickly passed the interview.
Compared with the other elderly candidates, he looked confident, energetic, and sharp. Some of the other applicants looked tired and confused, but Ben answered every question clearly and calmly. The young interviewers were impressed immediately. On his first day, Ben woke up early and wore his best suit and leather shoes. He carried an old-fashioned briefcase that he had not used in years. For the first time in a long while, he felt excited about the future. The company office was large and modern. Everyone worked together in one open space, including the founder and CEO, Jules Austin. Jules had started the fashion website only 18 months earlier at her kitchen table. Now the company had more than 200 employees and was growing incredibly fast. The office was loud, busy, and full of energy. "Ben, are you really going to wear a suit every day?" one employee asked. "You bet," Ben answered proudly. "I like your style," the young man laughed. The interns sat together and opened their welcome emails. A chubby young intern pulled colorful office supplies out of his messy backpack. Ben quietly opened his neat old briefcase. Inside were 2 pens, reading glasses, a calculator, and a small clock. When Ben pulled out his old flip phone, the young workers stared in surprise. Then Ben opened his new laptop and looked confused. A curly-haired coworker smiled kindly. "The power button is right there." Ben laughed softly. "Ah, thank you."
Soon, Ben checked his email and learned he had been assigned as Jules's personal intern. Everyone pitied him. Jules was famous for being demanding. She controlled almost every detail of the company herself. She worked constantly and expected perfection from everyone around her. One day, a customer called in panic because 6 pink bridesmaid dresses had arrived in the wrong color just before a wedding. Without hesitation, Jules promised to fix everything personally. "I'll refund your money, send the correct dresses overnight, and make sure everything arrives before tomorrow morning." She even gave the customer her private phone number. That was the kind of boss Jules was. She worked so hard that she rode a bicycle through the office to save time between meetings. Ben soon learned that keeping up with Jules was almost impossible. He had a short 5-minute meeting scheduled with her at exactly 3:55 p.m. Before the meeting, the secretary gave Ben some advice. "Talk fast," she warned. "Jules hates slow talkers." "And don't forget to blink," she added seriously. "She thinks people who never blink are weird." When Ben entered the meeting room, Jules spoke immediately. "I probably won't have much work for you," she said honestly. "Maybe we should move you to another department." She clearly doubted that an older man could help her. But Ben stayed calm and smiled politely. "I'm ready for anything," he answered. Jules looked at him for a second. "Well," she sighed, "I guess you're stuck with me." "Wonderful," Ben replied happily.
Even after their meeting, Jules rarely gave Ben any work, but Ben refused to sit around doing nothing. He helped workers carry packages, learned how the company website worked, and stayed late every evening. Slowly, everyone in the office began to love him. One morning, Ben cleaned a huge, messy desk that had annoyed everyone for weeks. When Jules saw it, her eyes widened. "This is the best thing that's happened all week," she said. For the first time, she truly noticed him. Soon after, Ben met Fiona, the company massage therapist. Fiona liked Ben immediately. She teased him gently while giving him a massage, and the younger interns laughed as they watched Ben blush shyly. "You're not as old as I thought," Fiona joked. The younger workers loved spending time with Ben. He gave them life advice about work, clothes, apartments, and relationships. He became like a father figure in the office. Little by little, Jules also began to trust him. One evening, she stayed late at work and discovered Ben was still there too. She bought pizza and beer, and the two of them talked for hours. Jules learned that Ben had worked in the very same building decades earlier, when it was still a printing factory. Ben pointed at the windows. "My office used to be right over there," he said softly. To Ben, the building still felt like home. That night, Jules finally relaxed. On the drive home, she fell asleep in the back seat for the first time in years. Ben smiled quietly while driving through the city lights.
The next morning, Jules dressed beautifully and came outside ready for work. But when she opened the car door, she froze. Another older intern was sitting in the driver's seat instead of Ben. The man drove terribly. He became angry at other cars, shouted rude words, and almost caused an accident. Finally, Jules could not take it anymore. "Stop the car," she said nervously.
She drove herself to the office and immediately realized something important. She missed Ben. Jules quickly found him and apologized sincerely. "I was wrong," she admitted. "You have this calm energy that helps people feel better. I need you around." Then she asked Ben to move his desk closer to her office and help her more directly. Ben smiled warmly. "I'd be happy to." The young secretary felt upset at first. She had worked extremely hard for months but never received much attention from Jules. Now Ben suddenly became important. She burst into tears from stress and exhaustion. Ben gently comforted her. "You don't have to carry everything alone," he said kindly. "Sometimes you need to breathe a little too." He encouraged her to leave work earlier sometimes, see friends, and enjoy life outside the office. Slowly, the secretary accepted his help.
Ben also quietly praised her work whenever he spoke to Jules, and Jules began noticing her efforts more often. Ben seemed to improve every place he entered. He even let the young, chubby intern stay at his apartment after the boy failed to find affordable housing. The young intern was amazed by Ben's clean closet full of suits, ties, and handkerchiefs. "What's the deal with the handkerchiefs?" he asked. Ben smiled. "A gentleman always carries one," he explained. "You never know when someone may need it." The younger men listened carefully to Ben's advice. Many of them had never learned these small lessons from their own fathers. Every morning, Ben and Jules started having breakfast together before work. Little by little, Ben became part of her daily life. But while Ben's life was becoming warmer and happier, Jules's personal life was becoming more complicated. Her husband Matt had once been very successful in his own career, but when Jules started her company, Matt gave up his job to stay home and support the family. At first, everything seemed fine, but as the company grew bigger, Jules worked longer and longer hours. She stayed busy every minute, even answering emails in bed late at night. The distance between husband and wife slowly grew wider.
Then one day, Ben accidentally discovered something painful. Jules was busy working, so Ben took her daughter to a children's party at the park. The little girl suddenly felt sick, so Ben brought her home early. Outside the house, Ben saw Matt getting into another woman's car. Ben immediately understood what was happening. His heart sank. He did not want Jules's daughter to see anything, so he quietly drove around the neighborhood until the little girl fell asleep. Later that night, Ben returned home with a heavy heart. He respected Jules deeply and did not know whether he should tell her the truth. At work, Jules slowly changed because of Ben's influence. She attended birthday parties for employees and spent more time talking with people instead of rushing everywhere constantly. Still, Ben could see how tired and lonely she truly felt. Soon, Jules and Ben flew together to San Francisco to meet a possible new CEO for the company. The investors believed the business needed an experienced executive to help control its rapid growth. Jules hated the idea. This company was her dream. Giving part of it away felt painful.
That night, while staying at the hotel, Jules and Ben talked honestly about life and marriage. Ben told her about his late wife. "We were married for 42 years, he said softly. Jules listened quietly. "That sounds amazing," she whispered. Then, after a long silence, she finally admitted something shocking. She already knew about Matt's affair. She had discovered it weeks earlier on his phone. Ben looked stunned. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked gently. Jules sighed. "I didn't want to lose my family," she answered. "I kept hoping it was only a mistake, that maybe he would come back to me." Tears filled her eyes. She admitted she was terrified of divorce, loneliness, and growing old alone. Ben listened carefully without judging her. Then he smiled kindly and tried to lighten the mood. "You can always share my family burial plot someday," he joked softly. "There's still one space left." Jules laughed through her tears. "The one time I need a handkerchief," she said. Ben handed her one immediately. That night, Jules finally let out all the sadness she had hidden inside for months.
The next day, Jules met the CEO candidate again.
He was polite, intelligent, and respectful. He did not want to control everything immediately. Jules decided to hire him. Later, she told Matt the news. She hoped reducing her workload might help repair their marriage. Matt looked deeply ashamed. Finally, he admitted the truth completely. He confessed that he had made terrible mistakes and begged for another chance. "I love you," he said honestly, "and I don't want you to give up your dream because of me." Jules still felt confused and hurt, so once again she turned to Ben for advice. Ben reminded her of something important. "This company is your dream," he told her. "Very few people ever build something this beautiful. Don't let anyone take that away from you." His words stayed in her heart. Later, Jules received wonderful news from the customer whose wedding she had saved earlier. The bride and all her bridesmaids looked beautiful in the company's dresses. At that moment, Jules finally understood clearly. She loved her company. She loved building something meaningful, and she did not want to abandon her dream.
But unexpectedly, Matt arrived at the office one last time. He looked nervous and emotional. "I was selfish," he admitted. "I lost myself for a while, but I don't want you to lose yourself too." He told Jules he would support her fully, just like before. This time, Jules believed him. In the end, the story closed with hope. Ben found love again with Fiona. The younger workers became more confident and mature because of his guidance. Jules became a stronger leader and learned how to slow down sometimes. And most importantly, Ben proved something beautiful. Life does not end at 70. You can still start over. You can still fall in love. You can still grow, dream, and become important to others again. In a fast modern world full of phones, apps, and endless noise, Ben quietly carried his handkerchief, wore his old suits, and treated people with kindness. That simple kindness changed everyone around him.